Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Strength in the Struggle. If you're overwhelmed by life, if you're struggling to find your purpose, if you've been pouring out to so many people that you've got nothing left to give back to yourself, this is the place for you. I'm Sheree, and I'm excited to be your friend, your sister, your auntie, whatever it is that you need me to be in this season. I want to help you walk through the struggles of life with strength and purpose. So let's start this first conversation off helping you rediscover yourself and moving forward in the next stages of your life. So, just a little bit about me. I've been divorced for a while now. I'm mostly an empty nester at this point, and I've spent the last decade really trying to figure out how to move from point A to point B and just do life. I've learned a few things that I'd love to share with you. And of course, I want to hear from you. So you can find me on all social media platforms. I'll add the links in the description box below. So follow me, like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Now, if this blesses you, feel free to share it with somebody else. All right, so let's get into this journey. I want to talk about some things that I think are pretty common to most of us. Now, if you've ever been through a divorce, a breakup, or experienced some type of loss, one of the hardest parts is really getting back to like a new normal, trying to figure out just who you are or who you want to be in this next season. And I'm not going to lie to you, I got married at 18 and I was divorced in my early 30s. And I pretty much spent most of my formative young adult years being a wife, being a mother, and not really spending a lot of time just being Sheree. I didn't know myself, and I immediately went from being in my parents' house to being a wife and a mother. And just when I thought I had it together in my 30s, boom, got divorced. And even during that time when I was going through my divorce, most of that time was spent parenting my four children. So I didn't really have a lot of time to try to figure out myself, like what I wanted, what I didn't want. And since then, helping others find their purpose has really become a passion of mine. If I can help someone else avoid some of the mistakes and missteps that I've made, then I will. And I made a lot. So I want to share some of those things that I've learned. And I want to talk to you today about the top 3 areas of focus that you should have when you're on a journey of rediscovering yourself. Now, this first step is deceptively simple, but it's really important. It really is just learning how to spend time with yourself, just quiet time alone. So, a lot of times it's really difficult to carve out time just for you. The hardest part about learning how to be myself again after divorce was just learning how to be alone. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received was from one of my uncles, and he told me to embrace the loneliness. And so at one point, I had 4 kids under the age of 4, and my life was just busy like crazy. So from that first moment that I got up in the morning until the minute I laid my head down, I just sometimes I don't even know if I remember to breathe. There would be often one or two or even all 4 of them crying or asking for something at the same time. So I became really great at multitasking because, like, what is life if you don't know how to multitask, right? And so for the longest time, I thought that'd be my whole existence. I felt like I was really getting a break, like if I could go to the bathroom by myself or take a shower. And really, instead of nap time, we'd have mommy time. And so the rule was that the kids had to stay in their beds. They didn't have to sleep. They just had to stay in their beds and be quiet. They could either read a book, play with some toys, or draw just 1 hour. Now they hated nap time, but this time was okay because they were helping mommy. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of helping them learn how to set boundaries even then. And so I even remember taking trips to Walmart by myself at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning just to get alone time. Now, would I do that again today? No, like absolutely not. But at the time, it was the only time that I could get some time just for me. So I consider myself a little bit of an ambivert, which is basically somewhere between an introvert and an extrovert. And depending on what's going on in any season of my life, I'm either equally recharged by spending time with people or by spending time by myself. So when I've been doing a lot of peopling, like being like outside all the time, I really need that time to myself. Quality time with myself is just really important. And that's basically spending time in a quiet space, maybe reading a book or listening to music, or maybe just not doing anything. I like to schedule those days in. One of the things I really love to do, especially in the spring and the summer mornings, is just sit outside with a cup of coffee and just meditate. Like that is everything for me. It is soothing, it's refreshing, it calms my anxiety. Now, some people, the second thing for you guys, some people might say that this one should be the first thing, but it's kind of hard to be comfortable if you're uncomfortable spending quiet time alone. And so the second thing you should do is spend some time with God. It's really important. And the reason for that is because God knows who you are. He knows all about you. He knows your strengths and your flaws. He knows what he created you to be, and he knows what you desire to be. He knows all of these things. There is no one in the world that's going to know you better than God. He understands what you've lost, but he also understands even better what there is for you to gain. One of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Why wouldn't you want to spend time with somebody like that? So we have to spend time with God so that we can connect with him and connect to the purposes and plans that he has for us. I'm learning to make spending time with God an important part of my routine. Now, there are a lot of people that love to spend hours and hours a day praying and meditating. This is not that, because I am not that person. But one of the things that I am still learning to do is to sit down and just be still, even if it's only 5 to 10 minutes a day, and just listen to God. Like, not ask for anything, not give him a complaint, not petition, but just sit quietly and listen to his voice. And until we can get that clutter out of our minds, it's really hard to be able to do this because we still have all of those, our own thoughts and our hearts and all of our things in there. So you've got to get all of that stuff out to be able to spend that time with God. And I'm going to be really transparent. This was really hard to do for me to do after my divorce because I just had so many things going on. And there was a part of me that was also a little upset with God. A part of me was really upset that things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to. And I didn't really want to hear what God had to say because I didn't want to handle the responsibilities of what he might have asked me to do. This is actually an area I still struggle with sometimes, but I'm learning that when I surrender, my life goes so much easier. Even when the bad things come, it doesn't overwhelm me as much when I've spent time with God because I'm able to hear his voice so much more clearly. And to be honest, I can even go back and pinpoint moments in my life when chaos was happening everywhere. And I was able to walk through it so calmly. And now I look back and I'm like, how did I get through that moment? Like, how did this happen? Why am I not somewhere locked up somewhere in a crowded room, right? But I realized in hindsight that that was a direct correlation between the quality of the time, not the quantity, but the quality of the time that I spent with God, meaning that I wasn't asking God for a lot of things or telling him what I needed or wanted. He's aware like of our wants and our needs and all those things. And he wants us to have some of that, if not all of it. But just sitting in his presence, like worshiping, singing on my own. And even though the noise that I'm making is a joyful noise only to God, I know that he was pleased with that time. And I could tell that because of the favor that fell in my life. And when I'm talking about favor, I'm not just talking about the blessings in financial ways or intangible things, although there were those things, but the blessings that came and the opportunities that came in my way, the blessings and the friendships and the relationships that were strengthened. And in all honesty, even the blessing of some of the relationships that went away. So if you're not doing this regularly, or if you've never done this before, try to take some time to incorporate some of those moments into your time. It can be as simple as sitting and spending time alone and just being quiet. And in that quiet time, simply ask the question, God, what would you have of me? And then after you ask the question, make sure that you are still and listening for the answer. All right, so this third thing that I'm going to recommend is something that I wish that I had started earlier. Spend time with a therapist. Now, y'all, I'm not just telling y'all this because I'm pursuing my master's to become a marriage and family therapist. I'm telling you this because it's necessary for your mental health. Look, I love my friends and I know they love me. We often lean on each other and are kind of like faux therapists to one another. In the past, though, I've definitely leaned on my friends way more than I needed to, occasionally to the detriment of some of the relationships. And what I really needed was a licensed and trained therapist who was ready, willing, and able to be able to walk me through those different seasons of my life. Now, if you're not doing this, you're really missing out on some bonuses and benefits that are amazing for your life. You've got to start being really selfish about your mental health because honestly, nobody else is going to do that for you. So one of my friends and I, we jokingly say that we're not taking on any friends in this next season of life who have not already been in therapy, who are not pursuing therapy right now, or who are not working on their mental health and peace right now. I don't need any extra drama or any situations in my life right now. My own peace of mind and healing is way too important to ever neglect it again. And I'm just going to tell you the great thing about the therapeutic journey and finding a therapist that you can connect with, who can speak to you in a language that you understand and that you can hear, is that it helps you to get a perspective that you don't always get from people that already know you. Because your friends, they know you, they know your situation, they know the backstory, they know all the things, right? They know what you told them, what they've been around, what they've seen. They know what you've been through, and their perspective is going to be from that viewpoint. And that's not a bad thing. But when you have someone that only knows you and is only getting your perspective and that really only knows what you're presenting, sometimes they can see the holes in the story that the people that love you miss out on or don't want to talk about. You know what I'm talking about, those parts of that story where you're only telling the part that really makes you look really good. So a good therapist is going to let you know, and they're going to pinpoint those things, and they'll be very honest with you, and they'll tell you where your biases are, where the gaps are, and they're going to help you face some hard truths about yourself. That's the only way we can grow. They're also going to bring awareness to some things about you that maybe you haven't appreciated enough. Therapy is definitely one of the things that I wish I'd pursued much, much sooner in my life. It's been a wonderful experience. And when I have someone who does not know my life, they don't know my experience, they can see right through my excuses that I make, they can hold me accountable for those things. Because at that point, sometimes what my therapist tells me is actually reinforcing some of the things that I already know about myself, some things that my friends may have already told me, even some of the things that God has shown me that I wanted to ignore. And so that's how I know that there's no bias with what she says, because she has no idea what anyone else has said to me other than what I've told her. Also, therapists are trained and have skills to help us reframe and reshape our thinking, which is so important to discovering who you are as you are learning more about yourself. Some of us are actually learning about ourselves for the first time. And so you'll need help choosing words to say about who you are and about the journey that you're on. And a very healthy and trained therapist can do that for you. So if you're really seeking a therapist whose value systems are aligned with yours, hopefully they'll even be able to lead you back into some of those quiet times with God and those quiet times with yourself. So for me, it was really important that I chose a therapist that was faith based. I have definitely found that. And listen, y'all, if me and my therapist ever end our journey for any reason, I'm just going to let y'all know right now, she is invited to all the cookouts. So I will definitely drop another episode soon about how to choose a therapist. If this is something that you've been fighting, please stop fighting and let this be the confirmation for you that this is your time to start the therapy journey. In all honesty, I've started the therapy journey off and on for about the past decade. But in this last season, especially in this last year or so, I've really made it a point to be more concerned about my mental health and wellness. It's done wonders for my relationships, to include my friendships, the relationship that I have with myself, the relationship I have with my money. So please, 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 please don't hesitate to find yourself a therapist that will help you walk into the next phase of this journey. All right, y'all. So that's all I have for this episode to help you rediscover yourself. So spend some time alone, spend some time with God, and of course, spend time with a good therapist. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I'm looking forward to helping you find strength in the struggle. So before you go, can you do a couple of things for me? So number one, hit that like button and drop a comment letting me know how this helped you and what you want to hear next. Number two, subscribe so we can have some more great combos because I love talking to y'all. And number three, share this with someone else who needs some encouragement. So until the next time, have an amazing day on purpose, filled with the purposes of God. Love you. Bye.